Not only has he admitted to lying in interviews, but Robert Pattinson has just said some very bizarre things. Do you know what he said about Twilight? His sense of smell? His saliva? Keep watching to find out all that and more. As the Twilight franchise was winding to a close, Pattinson told The Guardian he was not a fan of the cutesy nickname which had come to define his Twilight stardom. In the interview, the actor reflected on negative opinions from people who disliked his early acting and dismissed his later attempts at more respectable filmmaking because they discounted his work in the YA series. He said, "When I got this part in David Cronenberg's Cosmopolis, every single article that came out was R-Pat struggles for credibility. I don't understand who invented that thing. R-Pats? I want to strangle them." He went even further in a 2012 interview with the Sydney Morning Herald, insisting, "I would like to break the hands and mouth of the person who came up with it. Yikes, R-Pats. We do it 'cause we love ya." In 2011, Robert Pattinson starred in Water for Elephants as a veterinarian who runs away to join the circus. Pattinson developed a much-publicized friendship with Ty, his elephant co-star, though he denied to Collider that anything weird was taking place. He insisted, "I wasn't flirting with the elephant. I think I had a relationship with the elephant, but it was based purely on candy." He described sucking on peppermints and sticking them to his armpits, thereby getting the elephant to sniff him regularly, which apparently looked like flirting to people on set who didn't know what he'd done. However, that wasn't the anecdote that made headlines. Pattinson appeared on The Today Show to promote the film and told Matt Lauer about a traumatic memory from the first time he went to the circus.
The first time I went to a circus, somebody died. One of the clowns died.
Lauer questioned him, seeming surprised by the story, and Pattinson elaborated.
His little car exploded. The joke car exploded on him. My parents had to, everybody ran out. It was terrifying.
However, at the film's German premiere, he admitted to having lied. He admitted, "I said those things, but I actually made the whole thing up. It's coming back to haunt me. Someone asked me what my experience with the circus was, and I was like, oh god, I have nothing interesting to say. I don't know why I said that." Robert Pattinson has been the face of Dior cologne since 2013. In addition to print ads, he has appeared in commercials for the luxury brand, such as one where he, romances a woman under a restaurant tablecloth. This side gig means Pattinson gets asked about the collaboration sometimes in interviews, and it seems that he has some bizarre thoughts about the very concept of smell. In an interview with Allure, Pattinson seemed confused when asked to describe the scent of the new Dior cologne. He shared, "People are like, is it woody smelling? But I don't really know what wood smells like. It definitely makes me feel more awake." He said that, in his opinion, the best smell is being in love, notably not a smell, and he added that people think he's weird because he enjoys the smell of, quote, grimy stuff. We're reminded of when Kristen Stewart told Vogue that Pattinson liked the scent of her armpits so much that he actually licked them. Finally, fatefully, Allure asked Pattinson to describe his own scent. He answered, "Lots of people tell me I smell like a crayon, like I'm embalmed." A fan on Twitter asked the important follow-up question, unfortunately to no answer. They wrote, "What color? Details matter." By now, it should be clear that Robert Pattinson loves to volley with an interviewer. That sense of playfulness and unpredictability doesn't just extend to interviews with professional journalists. It turns out the star is just as bizarre when answering questions that come from his fans. Pattinson joined Reddit for an AMA, an Ask Me Anything Q&A session, back in 2017. Under the username Rob Pattinson, the actor answered questions from fans that range from the personal to the ridiculous, and his answers were just as oddball as one might expect. A fan of Pattinson's work in the adventure film The Lost City of Z was curious about how bad the mosquitos were while shooting. The jungle set film was shot in the tropical rainforests of Colombia. Pattinson, who played real-life explorer Henry Costin in the movie, had quite the interesting response. "I don't get bitten by them. Blood too toxic." Someone asked what his life is like outside of acting, and the thespian showed his commitment to his craft when he replied with a simple answer, "Sucks." A fan asked if he folds or scrunches, and in a series of replies he asked, "Toilet paper?" Seeming to decide, he answered with "mummify," and then he thought better, declaring, "mittens." Finally, a Redditor sent him a picture of one of his iconically messy haircuts, asking if he'd lost a bet. Pattinson wrote back, "If you try it, you will understand why." We'll have to take his word on that one. Though a pair of young adult franchises launched his career into the stratosphere, Robert Pattinson moved on to considerably more respectable fare as soon as he could put his Twilight days in the rearview mirror. In 2019, he starred in The Lighthouse, one of the year's most critically acclaimed films. Pattinson played a newbie lighthouse keeper going slowly insane, while trapped on an island with a more seasoned keeper portrayed by Willem Dafoe. The juicy role landed him a spot in Variety's Actors on Actors issue, pairing him with another of the year's most talked-about stars, Jennifer Lopez, who at the time was getting awards buzz for her turn in Hustlers. Their sit-down is full of gems, such as a moment where Pattinson told Lopez what drew him to the script was,
get to like have sex with a mermaid and like just constantly naked, like weird, like I have a cool mustache.
J-Lo famously performed a striptease routine to Fiona Apple's Criminal on Hustlers. Accordingly, another highlight of the interview came when Pattinson told the triple threat that he wanted to try his own hand at dancing on screen, specifically ballet.
Something like I was trying to find for years to do a ballet movie, and my agent was like, "Why? Do you know how to? Do you know how to ballet?"
He admitted that he doesn't, and that there isn't really a connection other than that, as he explained.
There's a ballerina inside me.
Lopez gamely agreed, saying,
"There's a ballerina in there."
Robert Pattinson spent the early part of his career as a teen heartthrob, idolized and adored by millions of young people around the world. The Twilight series sparked levels of fanfic heretofore unseen by the modern world, much of it sexual in nature. Most famously, of course, came E.L. James' 50 Shades of Grey series, which was Twilight fanfiction before becoming the BDSM behemoth it is today. That may seem odd when you consider the series itself was famously about abstinence, but there was clearly something in Stephenie Meyer's writing that spoke to a repressed sexuality that Pattinson embodied on screen. Now that Pattinson is all grown up, though, there's no need for him to hold back when talking about his sex life, because there's no virginal, vampiric image to protect. To that end, when Pattinson appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live in 2014, things got a little kinky.
I have extraordinarily heavy saliva. What does that mean?
His brain seemed to be working faster than his mouth as he struggled to get the anecdote out. He concluded that sometimes, when he lies, it helps his saliva thin out. Then things took a personal turn. He asked the surprised host, smirking, "Have you ever had someone spit on you in a kind of erotic way?" Kimmel thought about it before answering in the negative, but Pattinson responded differently.
It's pretty great. It's good, yeah? It's pretty good.
The Twilight series was a bona fide phenomenon, racking up hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office and untold numbers of fans around the world. At its peak, it meant a lot of attention focused on Robert Pattinson himself. While that usually just meant screaming fans showing up to premieres and television appearances, waving pictures and cameras in hopes of an autograph or a selfie, at least one fan took it too far. Pattinson told Cree magazine that he had one fan interaction that went sideways, saying, "I had a stalker while filming a movie in Spain last year. She stood outside of my apartment every day for weeks, all day, every day." While that might scare away a lot of actors, leading them to hire security, Pattinson took a different approach. He told the magazine, "I was so bored and lonely that I went out and had dinner with her." That may seem like a dream come true to the sort of person who would camp outside an actor's apartment, but the dinner did not go the way the fan likely hoped. While Pattinson had previously confessed that he hates boring people and would love to lock them up, the actor recalled that he wasn't the best dinner buddy and may need to toss himself in prison. He said, "I just complained about everything in my life, and she never came back. People get bored of me in like 2 minutes." Even though Robert Pattinson rocketed to international superstardom from the Twilight franchise, it seems that he was not as wild about the source material as the adoring public was. He has made no secret over the years of the fact that he is very much not a twihard. Speaking with E! back in 2008, Pattinson expressed his confusion about the book's popularity and shared a theory about author Stephenie Meyer. He said, "When I read the book, I was convinced that Stephenie was convinced she was Bella, and it was like it was a book that wasn't supposed to be published, and you're like reading her sort of sexual fantasy. I was convinced that this woman is mad. She's completely mad, and she's in love with her own fictional creation." He told Vanity Fair that he didn't understand the relationship fans had with the series, saying, "I guess people wanted to define them, like I'm a Twilight fan. That's crazy to me. I think people really just like being part of a crowd." Going further, he admitted to Moviefone that if he weren't the lead of the films, he would, quote, "mindlessly hate them." Finally, when the franchise came to a close, Jimmy Fallon noted on The Tonight Show that the end of the saga was heartbreaking for millions of Twilight fans, asking if Pattinson agreed. He laughed and said, quote, "for them, but clearly he didn't feel the same way." In the March 2022 issue of GQ, Robert Pattinson confessed to something that might explain his bizarre behavior in numerous interviews. He often lies, coming up with answers on the spot just to be able to say anything at all. In the same profile, he admitted that his struggle with truth-telling doesn't just come out when doing press, and that he lies often in real life. The star confessed to putting on various accents for fun, even fibbing about his home country during auditions. Pattinson has copped to this before. Back in 2014, Jimmy Kimmel asked him if it was true that he owns 1,000 suits, noting that when he had previously appeared on the show,
"I never know with you because you told me the last time you were here that you make up a lot of lies for no reason."
Pattinson corrected the host. He doesn't lie for no reason.
It's panic. It's panic.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Nicki Swift videos about your favorite stars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.